I thought I was just going to a fashion exhibit, but somewhere between the gowns and the lighting, something shifted, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since. Christian Dior was not just designing gowns, the dude was designing resistance. He shows up during a post-war era where it was sharp, the dressing was like, it was very rigid, and it was no nonsense, it was minimal. And Dior shows up and he basically is like, we're going to do silhouettes, we're going to do satin, we're going to do gowns, we're going to do organza, I don't know. We're going to do tulle. We're doing this. I am going to do softness. I am going to make you feel beautiful again. I want you to not only feel good, I want you to look good. He said, I dream of making women not only more beautiful, but also happier. He was basically doing resistance in satin. That's what this guy was doing. The line about making women happier stayed with me because at that time, I don't know how many people were very concerned with women's happiness. You know what I mean? But Dior was like, let me do the best I could do here. Because it wasn't about power dressing for him. It wasn't about proving anything. It literally was about joy. It was about romance. It was about fantasy, which we're going to get into a little bit, like where he pulled these ideas from and also kind of like the things he had to deal with in his life, which one of the things was like a shocker. And I can't stop thinking about that, but we're going to talk about that later. I just basically couldn't stop thinking about this exhibit. It really has stayed with me. I've seen this exhibit over a year ago, and now I'm making this video because I do draw upon this a lot. And I really was inspired a lot as you know, an artist and as a creator by this exhibit. He was reminding us we deserve to feel good. He was reminding us that we deserve to look good. He was reminding us that beauty is not shallow, that beauty is sacred, that these rituals of getting dressed are just that. They are moments, and we can create so many different moments through our ability to design for ourselves. You know, even like in my own life, I go out in a soft dress that's full, that's like ball gown, hair, makeup, and then I go out in jeans and a white t-shirt and hair up and back and slicked and, you know, my hoop earrings and a hard red lip. It's like we have the ability to design so many moments for ourselves. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because this is about designing your life. This is about curating your life. And Dior was chef's kiss on this. What this made me think about is, how do we create softness in a time that we're currently in a time that makes us stay super alert, super on guard, super defensive, where everything that's kind of rolling in is not soft. A lot of it's a lot of like shock. And it's like, oh, that now something even more insane has happened. I didn't think it could get even more, but oh, okay, we're going there, you know? And a lot of us are like really, really stressed out. The truth is, for a lot of us, softness doesn't come naturally now in this time that we are all currently in, because you know, when you're raised to be in survival mode, joy is sometimes a privilege you have to earn, or sometimes you were taught is a privilege you have to earn. Look at a lot of us as adults. We don't let ourselves go and have fun unless the chores are done, unless XYZ is done, unless, you know, our apartment's clean. And it's like, you're the adult now. You can go have fun. Or we think, I didn't work hard enough for that. And we have imposter syndrome, or we self-sabotage because we're like, oh, this came in easy for me. You know, like something aligns, or you work really, really hard. And it's like, no, this didn't come easy for you. You literally went to school for 4 years and busted your ass. And now you got that job. So go enjoy it. You like, go do you, baby girl, because you've been working and planted so many seeds to get to this point of this beautiful bouquet. By the way, we'll talk about the flowers and how Dior incorporated all this into his stuff. So for me, softness sometimes has been a choice. Sometimes I have to make myself go outside. I have to make myself touch grass. I have to make myself be present. And I have to remember that I am allowed to just be. The other day, I went and sat on a park bench for probably the first time in 10 years. No reason. No sitting on my phone, answering emails, trying to multitask, no eating lunch. I literally just sat there and took a 10-minute break because it was 80 degrees in New York City. And I'm like, you know what? I deserve this. In my adult life, I deserve to sit down for 10 minutes and just take it all in. And I did. And it was beautiful. But sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm allowed to do that, which is insane. A lot of times we have to remind ourselves, you know, there's like a big softness and there's a small softness. And a lot of times in small softness, which is saying no, which is not feeling guilty about saying no, which is not feeling guilty about not doing or going to something that you don't want to do that's not going to bring you joy, we have to sometimes, you know, remind ourselves that quiet softness and small softness is okay. Making your breakfast in the morning, nice and slow. enjoying it, being like, oh, wow, this coffee tastes great. Oh, wow, I can hear the sounds of the percolating. I hear the sound of the tea kettle going. Not trying to rush, like brush your teeth, pour a cup of coffee, like get out the door and, grabbing a protein bar while you're walking to the train. Dior reminded me that you can be soft, you can still be structured, you can have thoughtful, you can have elegant, and you can have intentional without being so rigid. You can be grounded and you can be romantic. And you can lead with grace while not losing your edge. And that was a big takeaway. It was a big hot take for me from this exhibit. And not everything beautiful has to justify itself to be allowed. Sometimes the point is just the beauty. So real quick, just to let you know about this exhibit, just to let you know about Dior, and to give you some actual context and what the hell we're doing here and what we're talking about, because this man's story is wild. Dior did not start out in fashion. At 23 years old, the man worked in a gallery. He was basically really into surrealist art. He was into Cubism. He was into Picasso. He was into the things. And he was rubbing shoulders with some pretty important and significant people. The dude loved nature. He used to spend hours out in the garden. He was into plants and he was into the things in nature. Obviously, we know these were huge inspirations for him because what did we see in his patterns? What did we see in his work? And what did we see in a lot of his designs? So all of these things influencing this man. And then after financial struggles, he had a pivot, first to illustration, then to design. In 1947, he debuts what is now called the New Look, basically changing the fashion industry overnight. The New Look, those silhouettes, those small waists, those gowns, all the things, not that hard and rigid, basically the flowy, feminine, and just feeling, looking, and just beautiful fantasy. Now, here's the thing that stopped me in my tracks, that is living rent-free in my head. He did all of this in 10 years. You want to talk about accomplishing some things? Basically everything you know about Christian Dior, the fashion house, the gallery shows, the House of Dior, all the things, Christian Dior pulled off in 10 years. Then he goes on his first vacation and then he dies. Yep, the homeboy goes on the first break he's ever gotten in his life and then he drops dead. Okay? I was not expecting that at this exhibit at all. 10 years of output, legacy, vision, then boom, gone. I don't know if that is a silent reminder to me that you should take breaks earlier, or maybe you should never take them, because I'm someone who likes to work, and when I'm doing what I love to do, I don't need to rest. It literally fuels me. And people will get on me and they'll be like, oh, you're a workaholic. And I'm like, well, I don't even really consider this work because I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it. And it's kind of fueling me at the same time. So it's like, maybe Dior shouldn't have taken a break. Maybe he should have just kept going. I don't know. Or maybe he should have rested earlier instead of stressing himself out. I still can't figure that out. Maybe you could sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think, because I really do not know. I just keep thinking, how many of us are waiting to deserve the rest, or until we've earned the rest? And how many of us delay the joy until it's safe? These are the questions I that I've been asking from this, but also I'm like, should he have stopped working, or should he have kept going? Or buddy, maybe you should have taken a break a few years earlier and you would have avoided all this. I don't know. I really don't know, but you can let me know. So I'm walking through this exhibit, and the only thing I keep thinking about, besides the gowns, besides how beautiful they are, besides you see the sketches, you see how he, built everything out and would have these patterns before he made it, very much of a perfectionist, and you're going through every room and how this whole place is just curated. The exhibit is done so well. The exhibit itself is a work of art. Whoever did this exhibit, it's amazing. It's so well thought out of the way it moves. There's a room that basically you're standing above the workshop and where they used to work and where they used to prep before all the shows. So the ceiling of that is see-through. So you're standing on that, which is basically the ceiling of that room, and you're able to walk over it and kind of get a bird's eye view of it. It's just done so well. And if you can really go see this exhibit, you really need to. I just kept thinking about all of the intention that Dior would have in his exhibits. And then uncoupled with that, I kept thinking of all the intention that was put into this exhibit. His collections and his shows were just not a show. It was a story. And I related to that. And it reminded me that, I've kind of been curating too, whether by accident or design, that is a whole nother thing. But, I try to curate my days. I try to curate my relationships with friends. I try to curate my home. I mean, I'm not really great at the home thing, but I do try to choose, and I do try to curate joy in my life and have experiences and have moments that are joyful. I try to curate my beauty. I try to curate my skincare. I try to curate my space. I try to curate my day as much as I can. And I say curate and not plan because part of my curation is being open to like what's going to happen next. And I do this not for aesthetic, not for the gram, but more for my nervous system, more for my own joy, and more for my own peace, to be honest. And sometimes that means leaving clothes on the chair because I would much rather go be creative and make a YouTube video or dishes in the sink, which there are right now, because I would rather talk to you guys about Dior because this brings me more joy. And this is what I would rather do before I tidy up, you know? And sometimes it means saying no to plans because I need to write or I need to shoot or I want to go to a museum and I want to get inspired and I need to, look at somebody else's work or somebody else's creative genius to help kind of rewire my brain or reset me. And that to me is curation. It's care, it's intention, and it's trying to have, some of these elements of softness woven in. The part that really hit me and the part that I was super inspired and the part that kind of to me was like my little message from the universe while I was there was basically how all of Dior's lives came together. And when I say all of his lives, I know a lot of you can relate. A lot of us are into so many different things. For me, photographer, writer, nurse, New York City liver, love to cook, a culinary producer for a pizza show. I've taken sewing classes. I've taken pottery. Also got kind of kicked out of the pottery class. That's its own story on its own. But I've lived all these lives. And sometimes when I'm doing all these things, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But Dior showed me that all of your lives and all of your kind of like little side detours and all of your interests all lead back and they all are woven into and infused and somehow show up, maybe not wholly, maybe not fully, but somehow they show up or at least bring you to the next thing. Dior did not abandon his art background when he moved into fashion. The man worked in a gallery and then he moved into fashion, design, illustration, taking all those components, those bold colors, those shapes from the galleries, from his interests, and he infused that into his work. He brought that with him. He brought the backyard. He brought the botany into his work. Look at many of the early Dior designs, a lot of beautiful silhouettes with florals and flowers. He brought it all with him. None of those things were wasted. They were all infused into all of his work. He brought the gallery show from the art gallery into his presentation and presented his works and presented his dresses and he presented his designs like he presented the art in the galleries. Everything was infused into what he was doing. And I like to think I am doing that with myself. And I want you to think that about what you are doing with yourself. Don't think any of your interests are wasted. Don't think any of your little detours or your setbacks are a waste. It all gets infused at some point. You are pulling and you are learning from it in many different areas of your life. Me, for instance, I love skincare. I love interiors. I love tarot. I love food. I love stories. Does it all fit together? I like to think so. I think they already do. I mean, even when a lot of this doesn't look cohesive on paper for me, I think it's moving towards that. I think, for instance, I love photography and now, video is moving image. It's moving photography. I think sometimes we just have to not be so tight on ourselves and not be so constricted and open up and just release a little bit and allow it to just take us where it's supposed to be taking us. Even when the world can't quite name or identify where you are yet, don't let that stop you. Even if you can't identify it, even if you can't say, oh, this is what I'm doing right now. If it lights you up, if it's interesting to you, if you're drawn to it, just go and do it. It doesn't always have to make sense. Sometimes maybe you just want to go bake some cakes on a weekend and you have absolutely no idea. And you learn a bunch about friggin' cakes and different types of icing. Who knows? And then maybe years from now, you're going to be in an interview that has nothing to do with cakes, that maybe it has to do with your tech job. But the person interviewing you, maybe they're into cakes. I don't know. Maybe you start talking about cakes and that impresses them. Again, every single thing you're doing has something to do with something else. We just overanalyze it and we just try to make it make sense. It's okay if it doesn't. Everything you're drawn to is building something. It just might take a really long time to see the full collection. So just give yourself that, okay? Just give yourself some grace. I would have never thought that my path was gonna look like this, but also deep down, I kind of always knew. And that was another thing I got from the Dior exhibit. He always knew he was gonna do something. He always knew he was gonna be something. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you just kind of know. But at the same time, you don't know. You don't know exactly what it's gonna look like. And again, that's why you have to be a little bit open to these things. I've had moments where I shock myself, where I'm like, wow, I can't believe I actually did this. I can't believe I actually pulled that off. Congratulations to me. And I've had other moments, actually I've had more moments where I've been wildly disappointed in myself, where I've had major setbacks, where I couldn't get it together, where none of it made sense. And I didn't even want to speak on it yet. I didn't even want to speak on how badly I failed. The Dior thing reminded me that every single detour we have is absolutely sacred, that it's gonna sometimes shield you or guard you from something that isn't for you, or maybe going a little bit longer is gonna help refine, and it's gonna help you actually get to where you need to go a little bit more prepared when you finally arrive. Even sometimes that job you took, just to survive, or the path or the situation that you took that might have felt like compromise, all of this might be preparing you for something bigger. And maybe you weren't supposed to stay in the gallery, right? If you're Dior, maybe you were meant to design what was going to be shown in the whole room, or what the whole room was wearing. And I want you to just think about that. I want you to come back to this video and say to yourself, maybe I wasn't supposed to stay in that gallery. Maybe I was meant to design the whole room. Just think bigger for yourself. I want that for you. Another thing I totally love that I could totally identify with was that Dior said ideas came to him like electric shocks. And I get that, because I've learned to basically chase the creative when it hits. And for me, it hits like an electric shock. It's like a boom, like it just comes in. And when they come in, I have learned not to table them. I've learned not to talk myself out of it. I've learned not to overthink it, even if it seems like a little too much, or even if it's like, how are you going to pull this off? How are you going to figure this out? I also get a lot of my best ideas when I'm at concerts, when I'm at cafes, when I'm at exhibits like this one. It's literally why I'm making this entire video. And that's why I go, and that's why I share, because I'm hoping that by me sharing this, you're going to get inspired. You're going to think of something differently, and maybe you're going to get a creative hit, or maybe you're going to get a download as well. Because the thing about inspiration is that it's not linear, and it's basically divine. And I feel like art and I feel like creating is a very, very spiritual thing for me. So that's why I feel like, when I'm in these moments of others' spirituality, quote unquote, witnessing other people's art, witnessing other people's designs, whether it be the interior of the cafe or the food that they're making, because I also think preparing and cooking food is an art. I mean, it is. Not everybody can do it. You know what I mean? And also, it's insanely beautiful. Cake decorating, pastry making, that is like, it's art to me. And so when I'm at concerts or I'm at a gallery and I get these ideas, I do feel like it's kind of like a divine inspirational hit. And because it's asking me to do more of myself in regards to creating or push my own limits, or also putting me in a space where I wouldn't have thought about this stuff for myself, if I was like just at a desk, doing office work. In closing this video out, one thing that I really want to thank Dior for is reminding me that everything matters. It all matters. The journey matters. The whole thing, the ups, the downs, the highlight reel, the stuff you want to leave on the cutting room floor. It all matters. The detours, your mini obsessions with things, your hyper fixations, the slow days, the side quests, those big soft moments, the way you arrange your life, the way you choose to see beauty, the way you choose to express yourself, the way you choose to feel beautiful, or choose the things that make you feel beautiful. Even when some of this stuff is inconvenient, or even when it may take more work, or even when the outside world and everything that is pushing against you is telling you to be hard, or telling you that you can't enjoy softness, or you can't enjoy joy, or you shouldn't be doing creative, and you shouldn't be allowing yourself to sit and just sit on a park bench because you have to hustle and you have to grind and you have to work and you have to get ahead. He reminded me that creativity really is soul work, and structure can be romantic, but softness also doesn't mean smallness, and that your life, when you let it, is already couture. It's already one of the greatest designs, and you get the opportunity to be Dior. in your life. You get the opportunity to be the head of the couture house, the designer, the illustrator, the presenter of the work in the gallery. Also, you have the ability to make other people feel beautiful, and you have the ability to make other people feel good and feel joyful. But you really do have, you know, a responsibility to yourself to do that first. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining me. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. And if you can, share it. Bye, guys.